So many people come to the Dominican Republic because it is absolutely incredibly beautiful. There are 1,000 miles of beautiful shorelines, beaches all the way around the country, multi-million-dollar resorts, and from a vacation standpoint, it looks like heaven.
Here in our area of Cap Cana, Punta Cana, as people come into the airport and they go into, right when they arrive, they can see all the development, they can see beautiful homes and everything. I'm not from any particular state. I was born in Tokyo, Japan while my dad was in the Air Force, and then we moved to Tennessee. I lived there for about 6 years. Then at the age of 8, we moved here. Through my lifetime, I've lived in probably a dozen states for as short as a period of a month to as long as 3 or 4 years. So I don't claim any particular state as the state I'm from, but I definitely identify as American. I got married about 14, 15 years ago. My wife and I were honeymooning here in Punta Cana, and we needed some things that we had forgotten in the States. We decided that we were going to go into town because the hotel was so expensive to buy the suntan lotion and everything that we needed. So we went into town, and it's much less than 5, 10 minutes away. You take one turn to the left or to the right, and you could easily go into a community where the average income for a house would be $200 or $250 a month. Severe poverty all around. Dominicans are really good about putting on a happy face and everything, but once you go back into the community where they live and you see how they live, it's heart wrenching. And as we went through, and I saw the multitudes of people just walking to get to transportation, to get to work, and I saw the severe poverty in that area, my heart just, and I said, we need to send someone to reach these people. I never thought it was going to be me, and I'm happy it was. But that's how really we ended up here.
Dominican Republic has 2/3 of the island of Hispaniola, whereas Haiti is on 1/3 of the island. And so the Haitians live on part of the island, and the conditions there are extreme poverty.
In Haiti, people live with anything. People live with anything, but everybody have to make money to find their food because the situation, the system is like that.
For 167 years, ever since its revolution dislodged the French in 1804, Haiti has been torn by terror, bloodshed, and despair.
Everybody have to find food for their kids by the way they can.
That 70% of the active population in Haiti is composed of unemployed.
The situation in Haiti was very complicated. When I escaped from home to go out, I didn't say anything to my family. My dad was my best friend because we were always together, working in the farm, working and going to the mountain.
I was born in Haiti, left Haiti about 45 years ago. Over the years, I have been following what's going on here with the Haitian people.
Of its 34 presidents, only 6 have finished their term in office. The others were either overthrown or killed.
They are trapped because, one, their country is not offering them anything. I don't want to be political, but the young generation in the other side of the island has really nothing to live for over on the other side.
I always feel something like in my back, somebody saying, go to don't believe this place. You have to go out. So it was maybe it wasn't just a feeling. It was something I could hear that.
President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated and another deadly earthquake hit, throwing the country into chaos. And the crisis has only deepened in recent months. Gangs have overrun parts of the country, kidnapping citizens and foreigners and putting up blockades to stop the flow of critical supplies like fresh water and food.
The gang violence over there is terrible. You know, even people who could afford to go to Haiti, they can't do that.
June 18, I took my decision to went away. And I stayed for 2 months in a place where my family didn't know where I was. I wrote a letter to my dad saying I was in some place. He sent me another letter saying, I'm going to find you because I need you. I miss you so much. And when I hear that, I say, okay, this is the moment to go far away. And I went away to the Dominican Republic.
Still, Haiti likes to call itself the Pearl of the Antilles. It had surely been that for the French, said to be the richest, the most prosperous colony in all the world. Coffee and sugar, mahogany and molasses were the treasures. But after the 500,000 blacks revolted against their white masters, they began to fight among themselves. The agricultural economy disintegrated. The big plantations were broken up.
So the Haitians are coming here to look for work.
They leave family back, they come to the Dominican Republic, and they work in the sugarcane, make some money.
I've been hearing about the Bateys since I was a little girl growing up in Haiti from my grandfather.
After that, I decided to move to the sugar cane plantation, to the Batey, and in this place, I worked as one of them, sugarcane cutter. Yeah. So that was a very hard and difficult experience, but it is what it is. Anything you can do to survive, to make money, to eat is good. Usually in the Batey, who live in Batey is almost 80-90% Haitian. Yeah.
The labor is very cheap. It's also, they still use oxen to pull the loads. There are some tractors and stuff that they've used just out of the sheer need to do things faster, but not necessarily to make life easier on anyone. And that's the cost needs to be as low as it can, because when it gets to the States, you need to be able to buy sugar at a very low cost, and all the work and labor that goes into cutting it, then manufacturing it, preparing it here to ship. After that, it's what makes sugar inexpensive.
You know, when I was a young man in the late 1950s in America, I lived for a time with my grandparents in rural Mississippi. My grandparents were farmers, cotton farmers. And so I worked in the cotton fields with them, and I lived in a 4-room house with them that had an outhouse. We did not have running water in the house. And those were rough living conditions. But the life that I lived with them was really very enjoyable. Although we worked hard, it wasn't like slavery. Well, when I came to the Dominican Republic and I saw the people in these Bateys who had absolutely nothing.
Probably around 200 people living here. The majority, they are young, between 10 to 30. That's the majority of the people.
Very rough conditions, because the men that come here ready to work in the sugarcane villages, they, like I said, they speak no Spanish. So they come here and they have nothing else that they can do but cut sugarcane. And getting out of the community is really hard. And then the kids are raised in an environment where education is definitely not a priority. You could say it's probably strategically done that way, so that they could stay there and continue to work in the sugarcane village, continue cutting sugarcane.
So they live from the sugarcane field, but they also do cows, like they work with cows and horses and planting. How do you call that? Harvest? Harvest. Yes.
It's French run, where they have leased the land from the Dominican Republic, and they grow sugarcane in those Bateys, and so it's like a village. And you, in order to live in the village, you have to work in the cane fields, and so the living conditions are tough.
So it's not something easy, but when you need, you have to do whatever, you have to do everything, whatever you find, because you have to survive, okay? But the work in the sugar cane, I think, is one of the worst thing I had done in my life. Yeah.
To cool them off, I mean, temperatures in excess of 90 degrees almost every day when they're working in those sugarcane villages. And so when they would go back in the evening, there would be not a fan because there's no electricity, certainly no air conditioning, and they had no running water. They had outhouses that they had to go to, and the mosquitoes are terrible. And I looked at this and it reminded me so much of my youth, but yet it was at least 10 or 20 times worse.
Kyle, this is the kitchen area. So this is what she cooks with. This literally is her kitchen.
The houses over there, they're just a one-room, basically, house. It's not, I wouldn't call it a house. It's just a one-room building with a roof on it.
So in my experience, what I saw there last time, it was like in a place where they should have maybe 4 people in one room. And it's like a block of building, like they have many rooms on it, and you can be with some coworkers.
What they do is on the inside they put in like curtains. They don't put walls or anything. They just put in like a string across, and they drape a sheep over or something to divide the room up. And then most of those have an outside. They make a little kitchen outside where they wash their dishes and they cook outside, many times just like over a fire.
You know, we visited many homes where it was literally dirt. I remember this one guy, he was sitting out in his front yard with some piece of wood, and he was cooking outside in his front yard. Wood is very valuable there because that's the only way they're able to cook anything.
Throughout the village, they have what we know as outhouses, and so most of them don't have their own bathroom. It's a shared bathroom, and so it's a tough life.
You have a little mattress or mat, whatever, to sleep.
Everything is dirt poor.
And it's cutting sugarcane with a machete all day, and so it's a tough job, and it's very hot in that climate. So,
and every day you go to the sugar fair and cut sugar cane and make some money just to survive. Yep.
Yes, as young as 13. Usually, I mean, most, if we were to do percentage-wise, I would say probably 90% of the girls get pregnant between the ages of 13 and 16. It makes it hard on the whole family. It pushes the guy, the father, to start working at young ages. That's information that probably no one would ever admit to, but there are young men that are working in the sugarcane.
In the village, there's like one or two faucets, so that's how they get all their water. You'll see them they'll be coming with their buckets. And once a day, they go down to wherever the faucet is, and they fill up all their buckets.
And then I went into a Batey, and I saw all of these people working, and there was a company store. And in that company store, they sold alcohol. So a worker could work all week long and earn just enough money to buy food and go buy enough alcohol and get drunk. And the owner of that store, which would be the sugarcane plantation, could end up getting what little money they had paid that worker back. They could get all of his money back. And so they had this man there, living there for virtually nothing.
So this time when I was in the sugarcane plantation, it was like, I could did maybe 60 pesos per day in that job. So in that time it was something important, but now that means nothing. Now it's just $1. The experienced worker in that time could make maybe 100 to 150 pesos a day. What mean now like $3, but in that time it was something more in dollar because the rate was completely different. I'm talking about when the dollar was about 12 or 14 pesos per one. So that was the good money some good worker could do.
Throughout our time here in the Dominican Republic, all the way back to about 1995, I want to say we've been involved with sugarcane villages. In 1995, we had connections with a couple of churches in the sugarcane villages. It's one of the very few things that the Sugar Corporation actually allows in the sugarcane villages. They allow them to use a small space for churches and stuff. So we had some contact with nationals that were trying to reach their people, trying to reach their communities, men that had never had any formal training. And we took them in, and they were trained in our Bible Institute there in the capital. And in 1995, there was a big hurricane, Hurricane George. It also affected the U.S. quite a bit, and it wiped out most of our churches and a lot of the homes in the sugarcane villages, because back then they lived in these little shanties, just pieces of plywood that they could find, pieces of tinfoil, and they would just put a little house together the best they could, just protection from the elements. And when the hurricane came, it destroyed everything.
It just came through.
It
ripped the island apart. And when we went down, we couldn't go down in the beginning, but when we finally got down there, the whole buildings were gone.
I remember it was a Sunday morning when my dad and I went out to the sugarcane village, and I was only 9 or 10 at the time, but when we went in, and what I saw was devastating.
I mean, every single block was gone. The roofs, everything was gone. Just whole churches gone. And some of our stronger churches, maybe 2/3 of the building, and some of them were gone, or 1/3 of the building was gone. But when that hurricane hit, we lost communication with everybody. I mean, you couldn't even communicate here in Santo Domingo. That's how bad it was. And you couldn't go anywhere. You literally couldn't go anywhere. That's how bad it was. No water, no electricity, just the island was in total destruction. Well, after about 8 days in the capital, where I am, I had a knock at my door. And it was the guys from La Romana. And they had literally walked and caught little rides in between where the roads were not torn up or there weren't trees over the roads. They had walked from La Romana all the way to Santo Domingo to tell me that they had survived, because we couldn't even call them. It used to be a 4-hour drive to La Romana from the capital.
Yeah.
They walked here. Yeah. and to tell me that they had survived, but to also tell me that they had put down like poles and made makeshift patched roofs to have church outside on their concrete pad because they didn't have a building.
Not only was it devastating, but there was something else that just really impacted me that I'll never forget, and that's that we pulled up to one of the churches and there was nothing left but the floor, the markings of the floor of the church, and the people were actually meeting in the open air where the church was and having service after such a horrific hurricane.
And that they wanted me to know that they were still being faithful to the Lord and still doing the work of the Lord. And from that day on, it made the people, it sort of gelled in my mind. I mean, we already loved the people, but it gelled in my mind that it's about them. It's not about us, it's about them.
Pastor Ronnie Autry has founded 60 churches here in 30 years, and he's raised up local, national pastors to pastor those churches. And out of those 60 churches, something like 13 or 14 of them are in the Bateys.
So that was the day that sort of changed me and my whole view and mindset about working with the nationals and doing what I can for the nationals and sacrificing for them, helping them.
In the Dominican Republic, American people and people from other countries as well, but primarily American people, Dr. Dan Hale came down here to volunteer his time as a medical doctor, giving free medical care to the people in the Bateys. SCORE International, Scott Cannon, and Frank Ogle take teams every week from the United States into the Bateys. So when I saw all of this abject poverty, all of the medical needs, all of the physical needs, and especially the spiritual needs, there was a basketball coach by the name of Ron Bishop.
So, and that's what we do. It started out as a baseball ministry. And just between Ron Bishop, who was the founder of SCORE, in Chattanooga at Tennessee Temple. And so he came to, he had a heart for the Dominican. And so he came here and then it grew to baseball, basketball, other sports teams.
And we were first exposed to some of those communities through our November baseball. And it changed my boy's life as we went out there and watched those young boys come out of those villages, walk mile after mile, just to be around someone that wanted to show them some attention, some love, some encouragement. And so what it did for me, it gave me a greater depth and a greater hunger to be able to be a part of something much bigger.
So in August of 2001, I brought a small group of amateur boxers and one professional boxer to the Dominican Republic. And we worked with SCORE International. They're just an hour east of the capital in a city called Wandolia.
We use sports, and baseball is very prominent in that.
So for the young people, the teenagers, and the kids, they dream to become baseball players. So because it's a ticket out of poverty.
Yeah.
We use that to be able to use it as a tool to get those kids to be able to come out of those villages to a local baseball field. Sometimes it's a major league field that's nice, but other times it's not so nice. It's their fields. And so we've been able to use athletics. It's not just baseball, but now volleyball and basketball and soccer, just anything that we can use as a tool.
So we would take these boxers and we would compete with local boxers. We'd go into local gyms. One day, someone took us to a Batey. It was Batey Peligro, And when I got there, I saw something so shocking, so touching that I'll never forget it. There was a young mother, maybe 24 years of age, that had a child that was 3 or 4 years of age, a little girl. And the conditions in that village were so horrendous. I mean, it was a very hard life. And this mother was so despondent that she tried to give that child to a pastor and have that pastor take that child back to America. Well, I didn't realize it. I went home, and 2 months later, my wife died of cancer, my first wife. As a result of all of that, I came down here with my good friend, Dr. Dan Hale.
Well, about 6 or 7 years ago, a pastor from Alabama, he was coming to the Dominican Republic regularly to do medical clinics. He needed a doctor. So he called me and said, would you be willing to come down for a week and we'll pay your airfare and put you up in a hotel and give you food? I said, sounds like a good deal. I'd already retired, so I came down for that 1 week and went back home. 3 or 4 months later, he called me again. So I came 3 or 4 times, doing it regularly. Enjoyed it immensely. My wife died about 3.5 years ago. Okay, so when my wife died, man alive.
My second wife came here with me a couple of years ago, and she died 1.5 years ago.
Harry's wife, esposa. Dice ella, yo soy la Anita, la esposa de Kerry.
Because losing your wife is horrible, horrible, horrible.
Mi esposa was with me.
Tu esposa estaba con él.
But she died.
Pero ella murió hace un mes.
And so, of course, I felt down for months and months. And I remember around Christmas, I said, this is crazy, me sitting here looking at the wall when I can go to the Dominican Republic and do some good. And so I came down and I started doing medical missions on my own. And it's gradually grown to where we're doing 2 a month. A lot of times I'll have 5 or 6 doctors, Dominican doctors, that actually come with me. And we have nurses and we have other people from the church in Santo Domingo will come.
So it wasn't until I was remarried about 2019, around Thanksgiving, that I came back to the Dominican Republic and visited the Bateys again.
We don't go to communities that are well-to-do. That doesn't serve any purpose at all. So we go to the poor communities. One, like for example, with Matamamon. I've been there many, many, many times. Matamamon is the poorest of the poor. A lot of dirt floors.
So I came down here and visited a couple of villages with him, and then we revisited a couple of villages with the people at SCORE International.
That's one of the parts of SCORE is what we do. We house teams here in our facility, and they come.
You know, the major leagues, they all have fields here. Is that if we can ever get a local star, someone from here that's made it to the big leagues to even just make a showing one day, we can go from 50 or 100 children to 400, 500, 600, just like that, because they want to see the hope that they see in someone that really made it big. And so we're able to take a simple baseball and say, you know, this is your greatest hope that you can have to be able to provide for your family. But we share with them the greater hope.
Whatever your skill set is, you come. We got a deaf ministry coming in tomorrow. Firefighters to come train here. Construction, medical. We got a medical team here this week. Sports teams. So whatever your gifting is that the Lord's given you, and they partner with the local pastor and go out, and we see what that pastor needs, what his village needs. And they come in and help him with that, whatever those needs might be, some feedings, some building, some construction, some teaching, some training, whatever those are. And we partner with that local pastor, and then we try to get those into those bateys to help them.
Well, in the Bateys, it's kind of sad. We're very limited to what we can do. I feel almost as if the corporation that works within the sugarcane villages, uh, it's almost as if they hinder us from doing major things in there to better the lives of the workers.
Well, yeah, they do. They have the ability to go out because they're not trapped. Actually, I know Haitians over the years, after they worked a few years in the Bateys, they have left and they try to make, have a life somewhere else. But I think probably economically, they are trapped because most of them don't have a trade. Some of them, that's all they have done all their life.
Deplorable conditions that people are still living in 2 hours from Miami by airplane on an island situated between Cuba and Puerto Rico. People living down here in what I would call modern day slavery. I mean, they can walk away, but they have no way to walk away because they don't even make enough money to save a single cent. Everything they make goes just to survive, just to eat.
In the Batey, in the places where people work with the sugarcane, they don't realize if the company make big money. They don't realize that because they have no any information, any knowledge about what it is.
Once they get out there and they start working, they really don't have a lot of options to go or what to do. And the men work all day in the fields, cutting the sugarcane by hand with a machete. It's back-breaking labor. They start early in the morning till late in the afternoon. Each village is strategically placed in the middle of sections, and that village is responsible for the producing and the cutting of the sugarcane in those sections. And if they get behind in different areas, they will bust them out to those areas to also help catch up if there was extra work somewhere else. But that also means that sometimes they will be without work because they have done all their sections and there's nothing else to do, so they're without a paycheck. And that's their day in, day out life. Yeah, there's that sense of getting the job done, being driven to get the job done, and if you're not working or you're not working hard enough, being kicked out of the village and possibly being sent back to Haiti.
So if they make some money, it's enough for them and they feel okay, they get paid, that's it. But they don't know what happened about exportation, importation. They don't understand anything about that.
We do as much as we can, but mostly what we do is very quick, last minute medical clinics and feedings and stuff. But anything long term, setting up base, setting up camp, opening a feeding center, they just won't allow it.
So I met a lady there, a woman. She's been in a Batey for 35 years. Her children, she has 4 children, they were born there. And she also has grandkids in the same Batey. So, but she explained to me that maybe in a few years they'll be able to get enough money to get a piece of land somewhere and settle somewhere else. I would say economically, yes, they are trapped in there.
After this time in the Batey, I couldn't save any money because this wasn't enough to buy food, to buy clothes, to do everything because I was alone. I didn't have my parent with me, so
they have no money, and they, like I said, they work for $8. They have to buy food, water. There is no clean water. So if there are lots of them, the water that you can get from the water system, it looks clean, but it's full of bacteria. But they can't afford a jug of water. A jug of water, I think it's like $2.50 or $3 or something like that. And that would do them for probably for 2 or 3 weeks. They can't afford that. So they drink the water from the water system, and of course that makes them sick.
So it starts from someone caring for them, just having people that actually want to come here and help them. Any kind of medical need, it all starts by caring for them. When they see that, they're gonna be open to inform themselves about the consequences of every disease, and they're going to be open to be able to have the tools and to use them to actually improve their health.
This was like normal for everybody, because if they don't know anything else, they couldn't imagine what should be outside this area, because it's only what they know, it's only what they have.
You know, they can't afford to go for $3 to go to a pharmacy. A diabetic came in, he had sores on his feet. He was 45 years old, sores on his feet. And his legs were swollen, nicest man ever, but he can't afford his diabetic medication. And I told him, I said, Mike, you're going to lose a foot if you don't. To them, what am I going to do if I don't have the money to buy the medicine? And metformin is a very cheap medication, cheap to us, but I mean the truth is a lot of times they won't have $2 or $3.
And I say, I have to change. I have to learn something different. And through reading books, and that time it wasn't available any news by cell phone, any digital things. It was all what you could find is through the books. But I read something like, is there energy? How do you make friends and influence people?
Witnessing. So we were on a bus and going to, it's about a 2.5-hour drive. And the doctor friend that had actually been working with me, Dr. Estella, precious lady, she was sitting next to me on the bus. And after about an hour, she got sick and tired of my Spanish, which was horrible back then. And so all of a sudden she said, wait here. And so she stood up, goes back 3 rows back, and she brings this beautiful lady and says, sit here. And little by little, we got to know each other, found out that she's a soul winner. Okay, so this is my wife, Maria del Carmen. You can tell she's far too pretty for me, but she doesn't see very good, I guess. So we've been married for 2 years, 2 años. I don't know what more to say. She's just been fantastic for me. What we do, my wife and I go to a pharmacy. It's a discount pharmacy, and we buy medicines. We buy many different kinds, antibiotics, blood pressure, diabetes, on and on. We share that for free when we go out to the medical clinics, and also to support the economy of the Dominican Republic. I'm not a Dominican, I'm an American. Dominican Republic has been so good to me, allowing me to do what I do. I want this country to do well too. ¿Hiciste bien?
A Haitian national that had started churches in the Batey from BIMI. And that's how all that got initiated. And then he passed away. And then we just picked up the torch because we were associated with him already. Because, when I first came, none of the nationals had any formal Bible training. And so we had a few nationals that we trained. And they would send us more students. We trained them.
Teaching them in our Bible Institute, helping them, preparing them for the ministry. Then they intern with us for a period of time, and we go out with them, help survey different communities or areas that are in need of a church, a community center, and we actually help them launch their churches. We get churches in the States to partner with us or partner better with them and that pastor and adopt that church and support it fully so that they can be a light in that community.
We have nothing against American missionaries, as many as want to come. With the mindset we had, by training the nationals, we could multiply the amount of churches that could be started. because if we train in a 4-year period, if we train 50 nationals, then we have 50 nationals that we can go out and plant churches with.
I'm the same person. I'm always looking for something. I'm always looking for knowledges all the time.
They need to know, to get out of this poverty, they've got to be able to have a job, to sustain that for the family. And so not only have we been doing this as far as ESL to help, we've also trying to help them in work skills, whether it's making jewelry, whether it's sewing, work with electricians, contractors. They come in and they teach those students at a young age how to be able to do that. So that's going to be very helpful.
Okay, so when you get a lady out of prostitution and you bring her to a safe place, an undisclosed place that we don't know where it's at, you use this facility here to provide income for them.
Y entrenamiento a lo laboral, cómo aprender a hacer coffee, café, brownie, esas cosas.
So very much so, yes, and it helps it train the ladies on how to make coffee and brownies and all the different things that they sell.
It gives them an income and gives them a fresh start, I suppose.
And so yes, very much so. Even today we have different areas of helping to clean and making jewelry as well.
All right, so once you teach them a trade, what's the turnaround point? How long do they stay with you? When are they independent and go back on?
Nosotros decimos que el programa dura trabajando en la vida de una mujer 3 años.
So we say that the program works in the life of a woman for 3 years.
Pero en realidad eso muchas de ellas conllevan mucho más tiempo.
So there's even some of those that really do take a lot more time.
Otras a veces menos, a veces salen, pueden tener su propio negocio, buscar un empleo fuera.
Some maybe even less. Some have gone out, they found a business, even started their own.
So they don't have education. So if they don't have a birth certificate or they don't have money, they can't go to the public schools. So as they stay in poverty, it's because they have no education. So we're even placing schools that are private schools that will teach those in that poverty areas. One of those is Emmanuel House in Quisqueya.
If you want to be a professional, you just have to be studying some of the career, and like that you can get it.
Yeah, we are doing things a little bit differently at our main campus church. We started it about 9 years ago. We bought a pretty large piece of property. We've built a building that will house, the auditorium seats about 350. We have a multi-use auditorium that will seat another 150. We have a basketball court. We're right now putting in a soccer field, and the idea is to make our church a community center. We offer 100% free sports classes. We're teaching basketball, volleyball. It's all organized sports. We give them uniforms and everything. When they come, the first 15 minutes before warm-up is us doing devotions with them, praying with them. And we actually have the orchestra for Higüey, the Dominican Republic. They're meeting at our campus. They're teaching the viola, different instruments there. And the idea is that we just want to make our property, our church, a place where youth come after school and stuff, where they can explore different areas where they can grow, whether it be music, whether it be sports. We teach English as a second language, which is literally life-changing in the area we're in, because if they can graduate from high school and they're bilingual, it automatically puts them in position to get a much better job than just being a maid or a gardener or something. They could potentially get a job at reception. It just opens doors for them for the future.
Absolutely, you can follow your dreams, even wherever you are. If you decide to follow your dream, and you can get it, just you have to be educated. This is the base of everything. This is I think it's like when you get education and you can go over everything, you can change life, you can do more than what you think you can do.
Whenever you saw Jesus come and touch the spirit of a person, he also touched their physical needs. And we're all about touching the physical needs of the people, whether that be helping them to break the poverty cycle, finding ways to helping do that, whether it be giving them a safe haven where they can go and socially interact with other kids, other teenagers, without being exposed to drugs or sex and other things that could hinder them from growing and breaking the cycle. We want to create an opportunity for young people to grow up and see beyond the poverty, see beyond the broken families and the broken homes that they've grown up in, and show them that they can be the difference, they can change, and they can make a better life for themselves.
And after you see what you want, or you understand, or you realize you need something special in life, maybe people are staying in those places just because they think it's only what they can do, it's only what they can find.
And as a testimony to that, we have several young people that have grown up in our church that came to our church when they were 12 or 13, got saved on the basketball court or on the baseball field, didn't have children out of wedlock, got married, finished college, and now have great jobs. And they are actually our deacons in our church now. They're helping us in all of our endeavors, all of our ministries. They're donating and volunteering of their time to teach in our sports programs and our other programs because they want to give back what they have received.
I was born here, I grew up here, I have to stay here. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to say, okay, I have to go. I can't do it. And you never accept somebody say you cannot, or it's not for you. No, just do it.
He has broken that poverty cycle. He has broken that missing father, missing mother in the home cycle. Encourage young people and say, hey, I did it. You can do it also.
When people see you back to them and they say, wow, a lot of people are happy to see you and they can see you have made a lot of changes. Many people are happy for that. Maybe some people are not, but it's normal. But people are happy when they see you were in the place with them and you went away, and when you come back, they can see you got something different than what everybody thought was all what they had. But people feel well, and I feel something. I can't explain it.
But also you need to understand that he won't only touch your spirit, he will change your life. He will physically change your life.
As kids, I remember when I was maybe 6 years old or 7, I can't remember. I was always dreaming about things what I never seen before. I haven't seen before. So I was dreaming about be a professional, have a car, thing what even in my place where I was born, they don't exist, okay? No electricity, no water, no television, no cars, but I was dreaming with that thing. I was dreaming with places.
And this young man, when he was 6 or 7 or 8 years of age, learned to read and write, and he started reading books. And when he read those books, he began to dream. And he began to dream of someday being away from the Batey, being away from this hard life and this hard labor.
Since I was a child, I always liked to read, because when you read, you can dream. Because read can transport you to other world, can transport you to other life. Okay? So if you don't read, you can't dream.
Over there, you may have the pastor to be able to live inside the Batey, he has to work in the sugarcane field. So some of our guys that go into the Batey for us, they actually live outside the Batey, but they go into different Bateys and help do the ministries inside there. So it's better for us to have someone that's freer. A lot of times that's what we work on, is getting ways to fund and facilitate. The more we can do is based on how much help we can get to do it.
In our movement right now, we have over 50 churches that we're overseeing. Our Bible institutes, because we have 6 right now, 6 campuses.
I decided to move to the city again, and there I start changing my life, and I got a job in a factory where I was as an operator for more than 4 years. And after that, I moved to the east side of the country. This is the place where I really make a very, very big change in my life.
He ultimately got away from the Bateys and got a job, worked in hotels, and learned 4 languages. Here's a Haitian that came from absolutely nothing and worked in the Batey, and on one occasion made so little he couldn't even afford to buy food that day. But he followed his dream and got out of this sugarcane village and became a success.
I became somebody with more knowledges. I worked in tourism industry and different type of job, hotels, and all that's important thing for me. You can improve different ways to make things happen. It's not just waiting for somebody doing something for you. Education is the base of everything. You have to decide what you want to be.
Bienvenidos a esta aula de nuestros estudiantes con discapacidad auditiva.
So we want to welcome you to the classroom of our deaf students.
Aquí estos niños tienen todas las posibilidades de poder llegar hasta la universidad en un 80% de ellos.
So the children here have an 80% chance of them being able to get into the university.
Y yo digo que este equipo es el mejor del mundo.
And I say that this team is the best in the whole world.
That we're just starting up recently is ESL, English as a Second Language. One of the ways to help these people get a job is if they're bilingual. The Dominican is full of tourism, so that gives them a way out as well. So we want to help them find a job that can sustain their families.
One of my goals is to be an interpreter. I'm Haitian, and I want to teach people how to speak English, French, Creole, Spanish, and other languages. Why not?
We dig wells, we've got water treatment. We have purified water that we've built a place here that does that. We do that through the local pastors in their villages, just so they can make a little money too.
And then I've remarried for the 3rd time to a wonderful Christian woman. And she said, the Lord is leading you to do this. I want you to go there to the Dominican Republic and share what these poor people are going through and share the work that the Lord has led you to do.
En el nombre de Jesús oramos.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, how many of you prayed that prayer?
So, but this is my life. My children, I have 5 children in Tennessee, and all of them, Dad come back home, and when someday I will, but not until as long as I'm healthy, and feel good about what I'm doing. I want to stay here.
So I just say to people, keep learning, keep educating, because if your family were poor or you were born in a poor place, but you can change the history. You can do it different than them.
Do you think, some of us are poor in America? Just look at the poverty in this village here in the Dominican Republic, and there are 1,000 villages just like this one all over this country where people have virtually nothing to live on. So we need to be thankful, and we need to be thanking the Lord every day for the things that we do have, because there's always somebody out there worse off than we are.
Only I know you can change the history. If you want to change the history, you can do that. It's your own decision.
A great number of people have gone into these Bateys and ministered to them, but the need is so great, there is still thousands of people there that need help. And just these few people cannot do it all. And that's why they need other people and other resources to complete the task that they're here for.